As a motoring journalist, I'm often met at a bit of a wall when it comes to a certain word, a descriptive word, and the word is cheap. Now, I quite like the word cheap. I don't think of the word cheap as a bad or a negative word, but manufacturers of cars and motorcycles and the PR agents especially that represent those manufacturers, they really don't like the word cheap. If it was down to them, they would ban the word cheap. They'd make it as taboo as the word. But this is a cheap bike. This is a BSA Gold Star. And, well, I'll just hit you with it. It's £6,000. This bike, as you see it in this exact form, is £5,999. And that, in my opinion, makes it cheap. But does that make it bad? No. Actually, it's pretty good. Hello, you're watching Driven on YouTube. My name is John Marcar, and this is the BSA Gold Star. In terms of figures, let's just point them out to you, because this, believe it or not, at £5,999, there is an additional OTR price, the on-the-road pricing, so that's things like the first registration, taxes, that sort of stuff. That's going to be what? 250, 300 quid. So generally speaking, for less than £6,500, you can have yourself a brand new bike from BSA with a 2-year warranty, which is also extendable for another 2 years, for pocket change. You do this on monthlies with a little deposit, you could get one of these and pay something between 50 and 80 quid a month, depending on APRs and your personal credit scores. 80 quid a month. I spend more than 80 quid a month on my mobile phone, for goodness sake. And of course, we need to kind of nod towards the actual brand heritage. This is a BSA, the Birmingham Small Arms Company. Iconic British motorcycle brand. And yes, okay, admittedly, it's no longer built in Britain. This is an Indian-built motorcycle. It is still designed in Birmingham, which is nice. And Birmingham, just for reference, it's just over there and a bit. So, let me give you a few options that you can have, because it's a limited option list for this in terms of colour and specifications. I've got those noted down on my mobile telephone that I spend more than £80 a month to own, which is nice. So we've got a few different paint options. You've got Insignia Red, you've got Dawn Silver, Highland Green. All of those are available for less than this, £5,499 plus the OTR. If you want this one, this is called the Silver Sheen Legacy Edition, and that basically means loads of chrome, which is lovely to look at, but a nightmare for Luke on camera. Sorry, Luke. This one, as I say, is £5,999 plus the on the road, and that's it. But for that £5,999, you get some pretty trick parts. And if you have a good look at this bike, more than just a glance, you will notice things like Brembo front calipers, Brembo rear calipers, beautifully designed clocks on the top, and look at the rubber. That's not cheap budget rubber, those are Pirellis, and they're good. And here, of course, we've got quite a nice engine. It's a 650. It is admittedly just a single, but don't let that put you off. And I'll tell you more about that when we head out for a ride in a minute. But let's firstly take a closer look at some of these posh bits. Right, let's talk about these brakes, because they're worth noting. So up front, we've got a 320mm floating disc with a twin piston Brembo front caliper. It's all floating disc, floating caliper. Then at the back, similar story, only it's a 255mm disc and it's a single piston floating caliper. Again, Brembo. This is the kind of kit that you would expect to see on quite an expensive sports bike. Naturally, it's also got ABS front and back, just to prevent any scary lockups. And then whilst we're here as well, it's worth pointing out this. These are Pirelli Sportscon. These are expensive tyres. This is not cheap kit that you sometimes expect to find on a budget, on a cheap motorcycle. Now, suspension, admittedly, that's not branded suspension. I haven't got anything indicating which company makes that, but I'll tell you more about it when we go out on the ride as well. It's really nice, it's really compliant, it does rather well. We've then got a nice 12-litre fuel tank up top here. That will happily keep you going around 70 miles per gallon, trickling the fuel through. And then, of course, we can't avoid it, the beautiful engine. Now, as I say, it is only a single cylinder, but don't let that put you off, because of course the bike itself, as you probably guessed, it's throwing back to the 1930s, 40s, 50s, which would have been a single cylinder. So rather than putting a twin on, they've kept it single, but the balancing is really good. I'll give you the kind of nerdy stats. It is a 652cc single cylinder with a double overhead cam, 4 valves, and it does run with twin spark plugs, so that does help. It's got a 11.5:1 compression ratio, if you're into that sort of thing. Maximum torque 55 newton meters, maximum power 45 horsepower, and that's at 6,500 RPM. That's paired up with a 5-speed gearbox, and all in all, as I say, I'll go into more details when we go out on the ride, it goes well. It's really surprised me. But then lastly, before we do head out on that ride, let's just take a moment to admire some of the styling on this bike, because it is a staggeringly pretty thing. Aside from, you know, the chrome bits and pieces, the clocks up the top are gorgeous, really beautifully finished, and they rotate clockwise as they did on the original BSA Gold Star. What else have we got? Nice kind of lighting features, got LED features around, and even up top on the handlebars, as well as the pretty clocks, we've got a nice little nod back to the historic Gold Star. That would have been an amp gauge once upon a time. They've now kept it there in the top of the headlight, but instead they've used it as the instrument cluster to show ABS light, neutral light, side stand light, that sort of stuff. And whilst we're talking about the light, one thing I really like that they've done is they've gone with good old-fashioned golden, I suppose is the right word to use, side lights and headlights. We've got no LEDs here, it doesn't look modern. So at a glance, you'd look at this and see the slightly yellowy headlights and slightly yellowy side lights and running lights, and you think, oh, that looks like an old bike. Little details like that have been done really, really well. But then subtly, obviously you've got here your brake fluid reservoir. On the other side is another little box, and that is a little port for a USB-C and a USB plug, so you can keep your phone charged, or if you want to install heated grips, you can do that from there. But then there's another one further down here as well. You can plug in a little 12-volt cigarette lighter style thing. Lots of really cool stuff. Anyway, that's enough static chit chat. Let's go for a ride. Right, let's get out and about on this gorgeous afternoon. So I guess I should, well, tell you how this has come about really, because typically, in a more unusual way of reviewing motorcycles or any vehicles, is I usually write to a company or phone them and say, hello, I see you've got this particular vehicle. Please, can I have a go? I'd like to do a review. But this time, it was actually the other way around. BSA got in contact with me, or their PR agent did, and said, look, we know you like bikes, we know you like doing reviews, would you like to have a go on our Gold Star? And so, about a week later, this arrived. And given that I didn't really have any preconceptions of it, it wasn't a bike that was on my list of bikes I wanted to try. I'll be completely honest with you, the fact that BSA had reappeared had kind of bypassed me a little bit. But I thought, well, I'm never going to turn down a bike. So I said yes, and all cards on the table, I'll be completely honest with you, I saw the price point of it. I had a very quick look at some pictures. I saw that it was built in India, and I thought that maybe, just maybe, this would be the wrong type of cheap. Let's get past this Golf. But you know what? As I've alluded to already, this is the right kind of cheap. This is the good cheap. I wasn't expecting to find Brembo brakes and Pirelli tyres, or beautiful clocks, or LED lights. I wasn't expecting to find any of that, and yet this thing's packed full of it. And the fact that it is packed full of it is
Well, it's kind of baffling me a little bit, because I need to give this bike a benchmark. I need to have a comparison to it. And of course, the easy one to go to, that was a bit loose, the easy one to go to is Royal Enfield with their twins. They got their twin 650s. It's the Continental GT Twin 650, the Interceptor 650, got the new Bear 650, which I must admit I've not yet tried, and I'm desperate to get on one because I think they look fantastic. But their 650 bikes are in the same ballpark in terms of value, about the same price as these. This admittedly is a single cylinder, so this isn't a twin. Now, again, preconceptions, I thought perhaps being a single cylinder, it was going to be a shaky, rattly, vibratey, borderline horrible thing, but it's not. The engine actually is silky smooth. It's very, very impressive. We've clearly got a weighted crank, cancelling out any of that vibration, and it's glorious. In fact, the only time that this car feels a bit kind of shaky and vibratey is when it's idling, when you've stopped. Once you're out and about and you're up to speed, that balance kicks in and it just hums along as if it were a twin. Now, would I prefer it to be a twin? Yeah, maybe, but only because I think it would sound better. That's it, really. The other comparison to give against the twin, and again, weighing on my preconceptions, is that I thought being a single, maybe it would feel a little bit slow. Well, again, I'm happy to hold up my hands and say I was wrong, because it doesn't feel slow. It actually feels, dare I say it, a bit more peppy than the 650 twin on the Royal Enfields. And that could, of course, be where the single cylinder is working in its favour. You've got less inertia, easier to pick up revs, obviously a bit lighter. And to prove my point, I'm going to come through this corner and just get on the gas. That is not a slow bike. That is not a bike that representative of 45 horsepower. I'm just going to say it. It pulls so nicely. I'd say, I mean, the sweet spot, the peak power point is about 6,500 RPM. There's not much point or much to be gained in revving it out further than that. It will make a lot of noise, but it won't really go anywhere. So the sweet spot is between 3,500, 6,500 RPM. That's where this bike sits most happy. And in doing that, the bike itself, you can feel that it's really well put together. You've got the confidence-inspiring aspect of good tyres and good brakes, which means that you're throwing yourself into corners perhaps a little bit quicker than you would be if you were on a budget bike with budget tyres and budget brakes. But on this, well, it's a completely different story. You're going into the corners a bit quicker, you're braking a little bit later, and then as a result, you then realise that the bike itself is actually put together really, really well. There's no kind of floatiness or wobbliness, there's no vagueness in the steering. Sometimes on a bike at this price point, if you get up to motorway speeds, you can get a bit of buffeting from trucks or even vans like this one here. But I haven't experienced any of that on here. It feels like a very stable bike. It doesn't feel like a budget bike at all. In the same way that the Royal Enfields wouldn't feel like budget bikes either, if, and it's a big if they had better standard rubber and standard brakes. They don't, and there's a good reason for that, and the engineers at Royal Enfield have explained that to me. It's that if they sell the bikes with if they sell the bikes with good tyres and with good brakes, then the price of the units would have to go up. Of course it would. But BSA have got away with it, which makes me just think, well, maybe the BSA engineering team and the sales team, maybe their priority is getting that initial customer reaction of going, oh, that's a quality bit of kit, over let's try and get the customer through the door with an attractive price. I really wasn't expecting to ride this and put it in the same ballpark as the Royal Enfields. I thought that this would feel a little bit slower, a little bit more vibraty, a little bit more cumbersome, but I was completely wrong. The suspension feels good, it feels compliant. I found that sometimes on the Royal Enfields, again, if I'm using that comparison, that on the kind of undulating corners with the lumps and bumps, it can feel a little bit unsettled. I don't get any of that on here, and again, that might be a weight advantage. This thing is, I think, 230 kilos. I'll put it on screen if I've got that wrong. The Royal Enfields, I think, are more like 250, 260. So that's a big difference. That's a tank of fuel and a bit. It feels like such a well put together bike, and as I say, I've got no incentive to say that. I've got no incentive at all to give this either a good review or a bad review, because to me it came at me. BSA approached me and asked me if I wanted to ride this thing, so I've got no kind of forward agenda. I didn't even really give myself enough time to build up any big expectations. I've just collected it, hopped on it and ridden it, and well, I'm so glad I have, because I'm genuinely really impressed. That's the pickup, which feels really good. Ooh, nearly killed a pigeon. Now this is what I mean about the confidence in the hardware, so in the brakes and in the tyres. If I was jumping on a Royal Enfield for the first time with the budget tyres and the budget brakes, I'd probably be a bit hesitant about cornering speeds. But here, I know that because I've got Brembo hardware, I can brake late, I can tip her in, because of course, good rubber. I know that I'm going to have the grip. And the other thing as well that I was expecting to maybe not be excellent is the gearbox, but again, I can't get over how good it is. This is a really genuinely lovely thing to ride. I am so surprised by it. And I guess the key point to make is that if you have been considering a bike in this price point, £6,500, £7,000, maybe slightly more, £7,500 even. You might have been looking at a couple of low-end Triumphs, some of the 400s, you might have been looking at the Royal Enfields. You have to find your local dealer from BSA and take one of these for a ride, because you'd be doing yourself an injustice by not doing so. I am so impressed by this bike, I really am. Let's head back to base. Let's go and find Luke. Ooh. I mean, look at those for brakes. Goodness me, nearly went flying past my own corner there. Let's go back to base, find Luke, give you some kind of summarising, closing thoughts, and then, well, it's down to you. Let's have a chat in the comment section. I'd love to know, maybe you've already bought one of these and you just want to see what other people think of them. And if that's the case, let me know how you've been getting on, because I've only got this for a couple of weeks. And to be honest, it's a horrendously busy month, which is very much a first world problem for me. I would have loved to have spent more time on this bike. I think all in all, well, you can see there, and you might be able to see it on the clocks there, it's done 140 miles. That's what I've done on it since picking it up. So perhaps you've had one of these for a while, perhaps you're a few thousand miles in, and if you are, then I'd love to know how you've got on with it. Ah, do you know what? I take it all back. It doesn't need to be a twin cylinder. It sounds awesome as a single. It sounds fantastic. I haven't got a forward face or a backward facing camera on me at the moment, but hopefully you can hear it in my voice. I'm smiling like a little excited toddler at this thing. What a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant little bike. And it's £6,000. Go for the cheaper one. It's £6,500. No, sorry, it's £5,500. It's £5,500 for the cheaper one. 5,499. So if you want the one with all the chrome and stuff, yeah, get this one. But £5,500. What on earth? What a bargain. It's cheap. This is a cheap bike. It's a brilliantly cheap bike. Let's use the word. It is cheap. And because it's cheap, it should be celebrated. Cheap is not a curse word. Cheap is good. And this bike is very good.
Well then, the BSA Gold Star, a modern retake on a bit of a design classic. My question to you really is a bold one. Ugh. And that is, what is there not to like about this thing? It's cheap, the right kind of cheap. It's exceptionally pretty. It rides brilliantly. It seems well put together. It's got everything you'd want. What do you reckon? Let me know in the comments below. Is this the kind of thing that might get you into bikes, back into bikes? Perhaps you've had a classic version, and if you have, then how do you think the modern equivalent compares? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll do my damnedest to reply to as many people as I possibly can. For now, I'll say thank you very much. There is more to come from BSA, because they are just moments away from launching something else very exciting. A Scrambler edition of this, which I've seen a few pictures of, and it does look utterly fantastic. So hopefully I'll have a go on one of those as well soon. So that's a very gentle way of saying, if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button and the little bell, and you'll be notified as to when that video gets uploaded. For now, I'll say thank you so much for watching, as ever. See you again soon.